All right, folks, welcome to the solution guide for the SAT Math Practice 1. So we'll go over each question, kind of talk about why the answers are what they are, and if there's any kind of hints about avoiding the incorrect or finding the correct. So our question 1 says a helicopter initially hovering 40 feet above the ground begins to gain altitude at a rate of 21 feet per second. Which of the following functions represents the helicopter's altitude above the ground y in feet t seconds after the helicopter begins to gain altitude? So since we're gaining altitude, we can actually eliminate one of the choices right away. It can't be C because this helicopter is going down. It's got a negative number in it. So it has to be either A, B, or D here. Now, since it's starting at 40 feet, we need to have a 40 in the front, so it has to be either A or B, but this one doesn't include the amount of time the helicopter is rising. There's no other variable in it. So the only valid choice is choice B. All right, so for number 2, text messaging plan charges a flat fee of $5 per month for up to 100 text messages sent, plus 25 cents for each additional text message sent that month, which the following graphs represents the cost Y of sending X texts in a month. So if you notice here, it says a flat fee, which means our answer has to have a flat section. So it's either A or B. You can immediately eliminate these two. And since your phone bill typically goes up and not down, choice A is the only one that works. We're going to spend more money as we send more than 100 text messages. Okay, so for 3, Jake buys a bag of popcorn at the movie theater, eats half the popcorn during the first 15 minutes of the previews, and then after eating half the popcorn, he stops for the next 30 minutes. He then gradually eats the popcorn until he accidentally spills all of the remaining popcorn. Which of the following graphs could represent the situation? Now, if you read that, he never got a refill, which means this popcorn amount can never go up in the bag, and the only choice that always goes down is B. So he eats for, if you look at the hash marks too, each hash mark is 15 minutes, so he eats for the first 15 minutes, then waits for 2 hash marks before he starts eating again, and then it spills. In these 3 cases, at some point in time, the amount of popcorn in his bag goes up. So here, here, or here. Okay, so for 4, 20 minus x equals 15. What is the value of 3x? So we need to solve for the value of x first. So I need to subtract my 20 across, which gives me negative x equals negative 5, and then divide everybody by negative 1. So x is equal to 5. And if you notice, that's a choice right here, choice A. But that's not what the question is asking. The question is saying what's the value of 3x? So if x is 5, 3x is 15. So we have to be careful because a lot of times the distractors, the ones that aren't right, will be some variation on, or we'll try to find a very common error. 35 would be if I move this across and treat that as a negative 15, that becomes negative x equals negative 35. Or if I just add across and don't pay attention to what I'm doing, I'll get 35. All right, so for number 5, for the function f defined above, f of x equals x plus 3 over 2, what is the value of f of negative 1? So f of x looks like this. F of negative 1, this just tells you what number to put in for x. So x has to be negative 1. So if negative 1 goes in for my x, this becomes negative 1 plus 3. Well, that's 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. For 6, which of the following is equivalent to 2x times x squared minus 3x? Well, this is a distribute problem. I have something outside a set of parentheses, has to multiply into the parentheses. So 2x times x squared would be 2x cubed. X times x squared, you add the exponents. 2x times negative 3x is negative 6x squared. So that's choice D. Now, I could have actually eliminated A and B right away, because when I do that first distribute step, I have to have a 2x cubed, and only C and D have those. Alrighty, 7. So retail company has 5 large stores in different areas throughout a state. A researcher believes that employee satisfaction varies greatly from store to store. Which of the following sampling methods is most appropriate to estimate the proportion of all employees of the company who are satisfied? So since he's concerned it varies from store to store, we don't want to pick A, because we're only going to get a look at one store. D allows employees to do it themselves. So you're probably not going to get a very accurate thing. If you really want to get a good view, you want a random selection. So you want the solution that says random. All right, and our last one here, I believe, D, yep. The 2 graphs shown above show the total amount of money that Ian and Jeremy each have deposited into their savings account for the first 7 weeks after opening their accounts. After they made their initial deposit, how much more did Ian deposit each week than Jeremy? So here's Ian's graph. He starts with $100, then it goes to $200, to $300, to $400, to $500. So he is putting $100 in each week. Jeremy here starts at $300, but he goes only to $350, $400, $450, $500. So his is going up by $50. If you notice, both 100 and 50 are choices, but the answer actually is 50, but not because Jeremy's putting in $50 a week. The answer is 50 because Ian's putting $100 in a week, Jeremy's putting $50 in a week, and the question says, how much more did Ian deposit each week? Well, if Ian's putting 100 in and Jeremy's putting 50 in, Ian's putting 50 more in. And that is our solution guide.